And as we think about the world of career technical education, as we think about technical education itself, what does the next president, regardless of which of those two individuals ends up in the spot, what does that person need to know about technical education? And here are our thoughts, 10 items altogether on that. And then when we get done with all that, maybe a little bit about my ballot. I did cast a ballot for the presidential nominee and in this latest election. So I cast my ballot yesterday. We may get to that toward the end. So, number one, the first thing that our next president needs to know about career technical education is that manufacturing is the lifeblood of the American economy. In so many ways, manufacturing is the lifeblood of our economy. In the state of Michigan, $102 billion a year of manufacturing output, 631,000 people derive their incomes from the world of manufacturing. Just in the state of Michigan, that's over 14% of the non-farm payroll in the state of Michigan. In my home state of Wisconsin, $63 billion of annual output comes from manufacturing. 474,000 people work in the world of manufacturing. 15.8% of employment in the state of Wisconsin is derived from the world of manufacturing. In the state of Iowa, $36 billion a year, 228,000 people working in manufacturing, 14.3% of the non-farm payroll derived from manufacturing. And in spite of, or in addition to all of these people that work in the world of manufacturing, the truth of the matter is that for every manufacturing job that exists in our economy, another somewhere between 2 and 6 jobs are created in the overall economy. The truth of the matter is my job wouldn't exist if it wasn't for manufacturing. I don't work in manufacturing, but without manufacturers who needed trained people, without equipment that is used to train those people, my job wouldn't exist. Our company wouldn't exist. All of the people that work in our organization have their jobs tied directly back to the world of manufacturing. In so many ways, manufacturing is the lifeblood of the U.S. economy. You know, a friend of mine told me not too long ago, there aren't too many ways that we create wealth in our economy or in America or on the planet for that matter. We can make it. In manufacturing, we make it. We can mine it. We can pull it out of the ground. Mining companies do that. We can build it. Construction companies and building companies build true wealth. We can grow it. People involved in the world of agriculture build true wealth. Most of the rest of us are just serving industries like that. And that's why manufacturing is so very important to our economy. The second thing our next president needs to know about CTE is that manufacturing is coming back to America. And the jobs that we train people for are coming back to America. I saw this in SDC Executive not too long ago, and it talks about the disruption in the supply chain as a result of COVID-19. And it says because of this disruption and the fact that we had challenges with things like pharmaceuticals and PPE, manufacturers and people who make public policy are starting to understand the importance of having a supply chain close to the point of use. That means that we will get closer and closer to manufacturing products back in the United States and taking that manufacturing and putting it closer to the point of consumption. That is really, really good for those of us who derive our incomes from this whole economy that surrounds manufacturing. There's been a lot of talk about equity and diversity this year, and certainly in this year, 2020. And the truth of the matter is our next president needs to know that if equity and diversity are important, CTE careers are a really, really important way to bridge that gap. Not too long ago, I wrote my monthly magazine column. This one was for Production Machining Magazine, and I wrote it on the topic of race in manufacturing. This column was published in the month of October. And I began that column with a story about the mayor of Milwaukee, not the current one, but one of the former ones, who wanted to come and visit my manufacturing plant on the near south side of Milwaukee. And so he showed up for the meeting and we walked around the plant, and he had a photographer with him that was snapping pictures throughout the trip and throughout the visit as we talked to various members of our team. It was pretty clear that the reason for that meeting was to show the mayor's support for the manufacturing sector in the city of Milwaukee. So as we walked through the plant and I introduced him to people, we made our way throughout this entire 250,000 square foot manufacturing plant, and we got back into the conference room. And one of the mayor's staffers asked me this question. They said, "Can you tell us how you went about creating such a diverse workforce, especially on your leadership team. And I paused for a minute and I started thinking about that team, and I realized that our head of customer service was Latino, and two of our supervisors that the mayor had met as we walked about the manufacturing plant were as well. And our lead inspector, the person responsible for quality and for inspecting quality of the quality of the product we were producing, was too. One of our supervisors and our waste treatment engineer were African American. Two of our supervisors were women. Our controller was also a woman. Our assistant chemist was an immigrant from Russia. Now, I wanted so badly to tell that person that, here are the 10 steps to create a really diverse workforce. The truth of the matter is, we had never really set out to do that. It just happened that way. As we hired and promoted really, really good people, we ended up with a tremendously diverse workforce. This is something that manufacturers don't take enough credit for. The diversity in manufacturing. And I can tell you, as somebody who ran manufacturing companies for well over 2 decades, that nobody in manufacturing that I worked with worried much about what somebody looked like or what their background was or where they were from. What was important was that you came to work every day, that you added value, that you could take some direction, that you had an aspiration to do something better today than you did it yesterday. And for people that had those qualities and those personality traits, things worked out just fine regardless of their background. Manufacturing is incredibly diverse. And as we look to create more and more opportunities for people, no matter what segment of our society or what part of our great country they come from, manufacturing is a fantastic place for us to look. If equity and diversity are important, our next president needs to understand the role that CTE plays in creating that workforce and providing those opportunities. The truth of the matter is, number 4, career opportunities that result from CTE are absolutely endless. Manufacturing and industry is still that place where you can start out sweeping the floor and end up running the company. I want you to pause for just a minute and think about what other segments or what other sectors of our economy we can say that about. Is that true in healthcare? Is that true in education? Is that true in hospitality? Maybe, but I can tell you in manufacturing, that is one of the few places where you can start out sweeping the floor and literally become president, CEO, or owner of the company, or, and this is important, stop anywhere along the way and have an amazing, family supporting, rewarding career at any point in that spectrum. And it's really, really important for our next president to realize that if we want those types of opportunities, CTE and creating pathways into industry and manufacturing are really, really important. The fifth thing that our next president needs to know is that all of this starts with inspiration. One of my favorite studies that I've looked at in the last several years comes from the Manufacturing Institute and from Skills USA. And they went out and they interviewed 23,000 young people. This is a representative study, 23,000 young people. And they asked them, what inspired your career choice? So these are people that have graduated from high school, maybe gone on to some post-secondary education, ended up in a career. And they said, what inspired your career choice? All of the usual suspects were on the list. Of course, parents will inspire a career choice. We get direction from people like coaches and teachers or family friends. We learned about career opportunities in social media or in some other form of advertising. The number one influencer of a young person's career pathway, and it isn't even close, is their own interests and experiences when they are in middle school and high school. And that is why we tell people, and that is why our next president needs to know that if they walk into a high school and the tech ed program doesn't look like this, our manufacturers are in trouble, because there are tremendously cool opportunities in the world of manufacturing, but we need to prepare our students and learners, not just with the technology they are going to see when they get to an advanced manufacturing environment, but also with the inspiration that comes from working with really, really cool technology, understanding that this is the world of tech ed today, and this is the world of tech ed tomorrow, and this is the world of manufacturing today and tomorrow. But here's the thing, and this is number 6. These types of programs and equipping these types of programs is expensive. It costs a lot of money to equip properly a tech ed program. I think back on my education pathway and invite you to do the same. If we're in an English classroom and we're learning about the great works, we're learning about punctuation, we're learning about how to write, think about what's in that classroom or what was when you were going through your education pathway. A desk, a book, a notebook, a pencil, a really good teacher, obviously a building to have that learning take place in. Those things are really, really important. But when we think about the cost to equip a technical education classroom versus the cost to equip a math classroom or an English classroom or a philosophy or a physics classroom, the truth of the matter is that tech ed is expensive. But it is an expensive investment in the future of our country. For if we're not inspiring young people toward these careers, if we're not giving them the skills and competencies they need when they get there, our manufacturing sector will fall behind, and with it, all those great jobs we talked about in number one. So equipping these programs is expensive, but the next president must be willing to support efforts to make the right investments in career technical education at every level, at the K-12 level and moving into the high school level, at our great technical and community colleges, and yes, at our four-year universities where we must also be learning this type of technology. And on that point, one of the things that I'll admit without getting political drives me crazy is when I hear us talking about things like guaranteeing everybody a 4-year degree. Yes, there are some people that should be on a 4-year pathway, that should be on a pathway to a bachelor's or even a master's degree, or even beyond that. The world needs great industrial engineers. We need great scientists. We need great doctors. Yes, we need great lawyers. There's nothing wrong with going on that pathway. But the truth of the matter is that we can create great career opportunities for people in our technical and community colleges that don't require a 4-year degree, that don't require us guaranteeing everybody on the planet or everybody in the country the right to a 4-year degree. There are great career pathways in our 2-year degrees and even students coming out of high school, and we can prove it. I'd like to direct your attention to number 8, which is this is a young man by the name of Kyle Pike. Kyle took a 1 semester course rather in industrial robotics when he was in high school. And the day after he graduated from high school, he began a job with a local employer in a position that had him programming industrial robots. Those are jobs that pay incredibly well. And he had that job coming right out of high school with a 1 semester course that he took while he was in high school. And yes, his employer will allow him and even support him financially as he continues his education. A high school degree wasn't the end of the road education wise for Kyle, it was just the beginning. But he is in a great career with just a high school degree. And that is a family supporting, family sustaining, incredibly interesting job. The point of this is that these jobs in advanced manufacturing are really, really cool. And I wonder sometimes how many of the people that have been in the position of president really, really understand how amazing manufacturing technology can be. If we look back at our current president, he made his money in real estate. That's where he spent most of his time, in real estate and in show business and in other businesses, but not necessarily manufacturing. If we look back at the president before him, he was a community organizer. The president before him owned a baseball team and was in the oil business, a little bit closer to manufacturing, but still not manufacturing per se. The president before that one was a lawyer and a civil servant, and the president before that one was a civil servant. How much do these folks really know about how amazing these career opportunities are? We need to make sure that our next president has an appreciation for manufacturing technology, for what it's like to work around smart sensors and smart devices and robotics and automated guided vehicles and data analytics and all of these unbelievable technologies that are alive and well in manufacturing. Which brings us to number 9, and that is that Industry 4.0, this whole idea that we are on the verge of the 4th industrial revolution, that is a real thing. And the technologies that we talked about, along with technologies like augmented reality and mixed reality and virtual reality and all of these additive printing, cyber physical systems, artificial intelligence, machine learning, all of these technologies that go along with the whole idea that we are on the verge of the 4th industrial revolution, these technologies are real. It is up to CTE to make sure that we are equipping people at every level of education with a knowledge of Industry 4.0 technology, with an understanding of what this is, of how it manifests itself in manufacturing, so that whatever comes next for them, whether they are going from high school to community or technical college, high school to university, high school direct to workforce, or from community college or university to the workforce, that they understand these technologies. This is what will keep our manufacturing sector competitive in a world that is changing really, really quickly. Industry 4.0 is real, and CTE needs to be ready for it, and our president needs to understand how important that readiness is to the overall security of the future of our country. Number 10, we can and must scale this quickly. Manufacturing technology is changing really, really quickly, and we don't have enough people in the world of manufacturing to fill the jobs that are already there. Would you believe that in the month of August this year, not quite the pinnacle of the COVID crisis, we've had some other peaks, but certainly right in the middle of the COVID crisis, there were still 460,000 jobs available in manufacturing. The question was, did we inspire people toward those jobs? Did those people have the right skills and competencies to be successful when they got there? And this is just the start. As technologies in the world of supply chain and e-commerce continue to morph toward automation and Industry 4.0, we are creating more jobs in these sectors, not less. And how can we make absolutely sure that we are prepared? There are ways to scale this quickly. There are ways to do this in education. There are ways to do this in industry. There are solutions that utilize distance learning, that utilize virtual skills, that utilize simulators, so that anywhere on the planet, people can start to get the competencies and the skills and abilities that they need to be successful in manufacturing. We can do that fast, and then we can make best use of the hands-on opportunities in our classrooms and in our labs and in our areas of industrial employment. This is really important for our next president to understand. This isn't something we can wait 4 years to get right. We have to do it now. So those are the 10 things that our next president needs to know about the next 4 years in technical education. Let's review them really quickly. Number one, manufacturing is the lifeblood of our economy and creates somewhere between 2 and 6 additional jobs in the economy for every job that we create in manufacturing. It's one of the true ways that we can build wealth here in the United States of America. Number two, manufacturing is coming back to the United States of America. As we see what happens when we disrupt supply chains, we start to recognize the importance of manufacturing product close to its point of consumption. Manufacturing will continue to come back to America, and the manufacturing sector will continue to grow. Manufacturing and industry is one of those worlds where equity and diversity is alive and well. You would be amazed, if you haven't spent time in a manufacturing operation, how diverse the workforce can be at every single level of the workforce. These are great opportunities for us to continue to integrate our entire society through the magic of manufacturing. Number four, there are endless opportunities in manufacturing. It is still the place where we can start out sweeping the floor and end up running the company. That doesn't happen too many other places, but it still happens every day in the manufacturing sector. But it all starts with inspiration. The number one influencer of a young person's career pathway are their own interests and experiences when they are in middle school and high school. And that is why we need to upskill our labs. We need to bring our labs up to a level that is Industry 4.0 so that our students are working around this really cool technology and we are inspiring them toward careers in industry and manufacturing. All of this requires investment. Yes, it's more expensive to have a CTE lab than it is to have an English classroom. That doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. We have to do it. We need to equip our people with the skills and competencies they need to continue to drive our manufacturing sector forward. Number seven, multiple pathways. We have opportunities for students to go through high school and go direct to workforce. That is awesome. We have opportunities for them to go to their community or their technical college and to get an associate's degree or a technical diploma that will give them a head start and a leapfrog opportunity when they get to the world of manufacturing. We have students that are going to 4-year degrees in manufacturing engineering, industrial engineering, electrical engineering, computer science, data analytics. That is great. We want as many opportunities as possible so that our students can make the right decision for them as they take the next step. So multiple pathways out of our CTE programs. Number 8, the jobs are amazing. We're working with augmented reality and artificial intelligence and in automated guided vehicles, smart sensors and smart devices, networking, control systems. This is not the job of your grandfather's world of manufacturing. It is a new world of manufacturing, and the career opportunities are incredible. Number 9, Industry 4.0 is real. We are on the verge of the fourth industrial revolution. This technology will revolutionize manufacturing, and we need to make sure that our students are ready for that revolution. Number 10, we must scale quickly. We can't wait for 4 years. We can't talk about this for 4 years. We need to do it today. And I added a number 11. Here we are the day after our presidential election. Who did you and who did I vote for? Well, I did cast a ballot in the presidential election, and I'm sure that many of you did as well. And my answer to number 11 is this: who did we vote for? Every single one of us has our own way of looking at the world. Every single one of us has principles and beliefs that we think are important. And every single one of us are going to vote based upon those principles and those beliefs. For the purposes of this webinar, I want to tell you that I don't care who you voted for. The truth of the matter is, when we look at CTE, when we look at opportunities for our students, if you and I share the mission of securing the American dream for the next generation of manufacturing and STEM talent, it doesn't matter where we are on the political spectrum. The truth of the matter is, we are not on opposite sides. We are on the same side. And regardless of your views, I appreciate the work that you are doing to secure that American dream for our next generation. Until next week, we are going to have a great discussion next week. We are going to talk all about one of those technologies that we shared with you today, this whole world of augmented reality, mixed reality, and virtual reality. We're going to talk about how we use virtual reality to immerse a learner in a safety environment where they're learning about things like lockout, tagout, and they're learning about confined space entry and fall protection and fire suppression in a first-hand fashion. We are really, really looking forward to that event. By then, we probably will know. I hope we know who our next president will be. But either way, I really appreciate your time with me this afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you.